Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So today we're going to add these Roadshock LED light bars to this General, and that is going to fit right there is what the plan is. And when I bought this at Harbor Freight, there was a sale, and I can't vouch for how long it's going to go on, but on this Roadshock items, which they've got all kinds of stuff, if you bought more than $40 worth of Roadshock LED lighting from Harbor Freight, they threw in this wiring kit for free. And this wiring kit sells for $30. So the funny thing about this 8-inch light bar, it was $39.99. So 1 cent less than what it took to get the free wiring kit. But the lady checked it out and ended up giving it to me for free anyway. So I guess I owe Harbor Freight a penny, but we're gonna get this hooked up. All right, so the first step is pulling this hood off. Now, before I pull this hood off, this thing sat out in a shed for about 2 years. And I know that we had some issues with some mice. So there's what's left of a nest, and they ate several of these wires. The other thing is we've got these relays to run the lighting that I've got on this. And then of course there's wire nuts that don't belong in automotive wiring. So while cousin Jeff is here, who was an industrial electrician for years, he's gonna go ahead and clean this up for me and get my new light bar going.
We're gonna attempt to.
We're gonna attempt to. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so before we get started, I'm gonna take a shop vac and clean this stuff up before we get rotavirus or something.
Right.
That's a lot.
It again. Yep. You got the bright ones up on the top, and you also got the brake lights that are.
Okay. Now, is there a blue light right in the middle?
It's not coming on.
Okay.
So this fuse, apparently, you've fed the line side of all your relays with this one fuse, and I just took it out. The light shut off. Stick it back in. All the lights come on. So this is a break in the power supplied to the line side of all these relays, and on the load side of the relays are all the lights. And it almost looks like you've individually fused the load sides as well. Now when I plug this in, if we did everything right, the lights should come on, and it should tell us what amperage all 5 of these lights are drawing.
So 4.6.
Okay.
You want to hit the brakes?
Yeah. 4.2. But is the blue light still on? It might have bumped. No. Yeah, the blue lights.
Yep.
All the lights are on.
Okay.
So give me that and go ahead and hit the brake, and we'll see how much current it adds. About an amp. So you're at 5.07 amps.
Okay.
When we add all this up, this one draws 2. The lights that are already on it draw 5 when the brake light's pressed. So we're at 7 amps. So, you know, we could run all these lights just straight off the accessory switches, off the accessory circuit, and you don't have to have all these relays that cause issues.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to add a CB or a radio or a 12-volt air compressor, yeah, those are larger, higher current loads, and you will definitely need to add relays if you do that.
Okay.
But if you're confident that you're not going to add more to this circuit than that 7 amps.
Well, even if I do, we'll leave those relays there.
Right.
And I'll just reuse one of those for the air compressor or something if I do, but I'm not really planning on doing that. So.
The relay itself is a load,
Mm-hmm.
but you're talking milliamps.
Right.
It's not going to be anything big. It's just, for me,
Mm-hmm.
if you can make it as simplified as possible, you're just going to have less problems.
Okay. Works for me.
All right.
Okay, the switches stay lit too, but I mean, that should still be counted as part of that current draw, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Because it has to go through the meter to get
Right,
to
to
the
get to
light,
that,
so
so.
everything that was lit.
Okay, works for me. All right, so while we're still trying to figure out this rat's nest of wiring, which, like I said, I feel bad about because I was the one that did it, but I was drinking back then. But look at this. So what I found out was I put the brackets on this light, and I was going to have it more out here, but behind this crash bar, maybe it'll protect a little more. And there's already holes there where this thing will line up perfectly. So I don't know if Polaris communicated with Harbor Freight or the other way around, but this thing's like made for this. Hey everybody, so in video time it was like that, but in real time we're about a week later, and unfortunately for me, Cousin Jeff had to go back to Minnesota. But what we got done the day he was here working on this was we've identified and labeled all of our different wires coming out of the dash. And some of these go to the switches, like this one is for the blue light that goes to the switch. But then, like this one is the blue light that powers that. So we've got everything labeled, and what we've got now is all of these relays basically are ready to come out of there. And the reason we did that was we're going to go ahead and run it with relays, but we ordered this box off Amazon. So this has 6 fused relays, and it's going to clean up the wiring a whole bunch. So we should be able to make this much less of a mess and get rid of all the soldered on wire nuts that also have the liquid electrical tape in them. So it's just me now, but let's get this job done. Okay, so this mess is going in the trash can. All right, and I'll remove the actual relays now. So there's the relays, and the nice thing about that is there's plenty of room here to put this fuse box in, and now with everything out, I can actually go ahead and clean up this area a lot better. Let's get this cleaned up. All right, that ought to do it. Make it a little better anyway. Okay, and the way this particular box works is I'm gonna mount that flat, and then it has a cover, but this is the main hot wire into the whole panel here. Then all of these are the switch wires or the trigger wires. This is the neutral or the ground negative battery terminal. Then all these come from those switches, which are the trigger wires. They turn on these relays, and then down here are the relay outputs that turn on your light. So it's going to clean it up quite a bit. It's the exact same thing I had, just a lot cleaner. And I think it's going to be really good. The other thing this allows me to do is with the 10 amp accessory lead that comes off is what's going to power this. And with that, I can control much heavier amperage because my power coming in comes straight from the battery. So what I was thinking is I could go ahead and put an air compressor on this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not, but I have seen where people will mount air compressors underneath their hoods there, and then all they have to do is run an air hose to their tires or whatever. So pretty cool idea. So there are 4 5 amp fuses for the first 4 of these, and realistically I could get by with 2 amp fuses, but 5 is the smallest thing I've got. Okay, so I think if I mount this right here, here's my power in, and I've got a fuse holder in this, and so I'll go ahead and use probably a 10 amp fuse on that, and then that'll be actually fused the same as the accessory line that goes into the cab of the vehicle. This was the ground wire to this whole thing, but this is one of the ones that whatever critters were living in here ate on, so I'm going to replace that line. Plus, looking at this terminal, I mean, that's pretty loose and nasty anyway. A lot of these are. So I'll probably redo these wires as well, but they're going to go the same places as they already did. So this is what Jeff was able to help me out with his electronics background. And keep in mind, I originally wired all this myself, but like I said, it wasn't done as professionally and nicely as it could be. It did work. But anyway, so this is a accessory lug that's only on when the key is on, and it's on a 10 amp fuse. But that runs into the dash where I've got my 2 accessory switches. There's also a neutral wire that runs in to those switches. Then coming out of those switches are what we call the trigger wires that will go to these leads. And this one is the headlight trigger wire. So if we make relay 1, the headlight relay, it'll go to Y1. And then over here on K1, this will be when this trigger wire has power to it, it turns on basically this relay, and so then this lug will come hot, and this is what will actually go to the lights. All right, and I've labeled these now, relay 1, 2, 3, and then that's number 1 will be the headlights, number 2 will be this blue light that's on the back. It's kind of a dust light. We were riding a ride up in Michigan, and a guy in front of us had one of these blue LED lights, and it was so easy to see through the dust compared to, I mean, you saw it like twice the distance from any red light or amber light or anything like that people had. And then the third one is our brake light, which is also at the rear. So let's see what these look like. So this is that blue, I call it the dust light or whatever, but if we're riding off-road in a heavy dusty area with a group, I flip this light on and it just keeps people from running into the back of you. Then the light on either side are brake lights. Because up higher, they're also seen easier than these that are down here. And also a lot of times these get covered with mud, where I've never had those top ones get covered with mud. Then the headlights will be these 3 floodlights, with the center one being the new one, and then the 2 little floodlights that are up on the roof also. Okay, and our fuse box is mounted. Okay, one connection. Okay, and these terminals on this only screwdrivers I've got are these little micro screwdrivers that I think I got free for coming into Harbor Freight or something one time. Okay, so I've got my hot and my ground in place. Now then, these are the trigger wires, so I got to start putting those in place. So I've got the hot for everything, the ground for everything, and the 3 trigger wires hooked up. I think I said 4 earlier, but there is only 3 circuits that I'm running with this. Okay, so this is the brake light. Let's put it on. These Doyle crimpers from Harbor Freight are really nice. It's the first time I've used them. But yeah, they ratchet right down. Okay, so here are the front LED lights on the grill. There are the front LED lights that go up on top. Then come around here, there should be a blue light for dust on in the middle, and there is. And then those two are brake lights that will only work when I hit the brakes, so let's try and do that. All right, so let me hit the brake lights. All right, I've got everything working and wired up. Now I just need to clean it up. And that's one of the places where having Jeff here would have made it a whole lot easier on me, because he's very meticulous about that kind of thing. But I'm gonna put these wires under zip ties, and I've got some cable loom, and I'll run them over here. And then these wires I'll put all in one loom and hopefully get all of this mess inside some kind of cable connection thing, or at least zip tie them together. So let me clean up, I'll button it up, and we'll wrap it up. All right, and with some of this cheap wire loom, I got that cleaned up pretty good. Got a nice little lid on that box. Everything's working well, and it's just a whole lot cleaner looking than it was. So other than that, we'll probably go out and maybe try and do a little drive at night and see how the difference is with all these lights added. Other than that, if you got anything out of this video, give us a thumbs up. It absolutely helps the channel. And we invite you to subscribe to see what our next adventure is. Have a great day and be safe. All right, and also special thanks to Cousin Jeff, who came out and looked at all this stuff and figured out what we needed to clean it up. Unfortunately, we didn't get the parts in until he had to leave. You know, I wired that a long time ago, and, you know, is what I had at the time, and it worked. Like I said, you know, Jeff came in with more knowledge about electronics on cars and stuff and figured out a cleaner way. We appreciate it. So here are our switches. And right now we have no headlights on. So let's flip. There's the low beams, there's the high beams. Then there's the front light bars. And it's kind of hard to tell. Oh yeah, it's definitely brighter with those things. The camera cuts the brightness down as soon as it comes on. Let's go for a rip. Okay, so here are the brake lights, and I think they work pretty darn good. And I've also got that blue light turned on. I don't know if in the camera what I'm seeing, you can't really tell that blue light's on blue, but when you're running through the dust up in Michigan or any place else that's super dusty on the trails, that blue light shows up really well. So now, so there's nothing on. There's the regular headlights are on. There's the regular brights. And you can see it up in the trees a little more. But then here are the front floodlights. And I'll just go ahead and turn the headlights off. That's pretty good. It's a whiter light than what the headlights are too. Try and look at this without blindness. But so we've got the two individual lights on the roof, then the 2 lights on the bumper, and then the big spot floodlight down below. And I've got that aimed pretty low, which is what I wanted. So this is that bottom light, where these others kind of go out a little farther. All right, well, believe it or not, it's dark out here, even though it doesn't look like it on this camera. Let's get back to the barn.